Welcome everyone, this is John with Living in Our 50s. Hope y'all are having a fantastic day. Just wanted to come to y'all and talk to y'all again about the Let Them Theory book. We're going to talk about chapters 8 and 9 today. And I've got a question for you. Have you ever noticed how sometimes the right decision feels, completely wrong and life still isn't fair, even when you do the right thing? Well, that's what chapter 8 and 9 of the Let Them Theory made me really start wrestling with today when I was reading it at the gym. I was listening to it at the gym today. But, and by the way, I had a great workout today. Very good workout. I'm sore, y'all. Really sore. It's been a day. I had a job today that should have only taken 2 hours, and then, it took a little bit longer than that. It took about 3.5 hours. But, chapter 8, it talks about how the right decision doesn't always feel good. In fact, it usually feels uncomfortable. It can feel lonely. It can feel like loss. And that's the part nobody tells you. Obedience doesn't always feel peaceful at first. Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane is the perfect example. He prayed, "Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me." That didn't feel good. It didn't feel fair, but he followed it with, "Not my will, but yours be done." The right decision led to the cross before it led to the resurrection. And sometimes the right move means setting boundaries, walking away, saying no, letting someone misunderstand you, not defending yourself. And emotionally, it feels wrong. It feels like you're losing. But biblically, it's called dying to self. In Luke 9:23, it says, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me." The right decision often crucifies your ego before it frees your spirit. In chapter 8, she talks about the guy that one of her podcast listeners, Mel Robbins, talks about this guy that I think he emailed her and said that he feels like that he's supposed to call off the wedding. Everybody's already paid. They've already paid their dues, and for the venue and everything, and he was just really struggling with that. And that's a hard one. That is really hard. But sometimes the decisions are ones that just in that situation too. But it's not a popular decision. It's not what everybody wants you to do, and that's hard for you a lot of times to make that decision. But just know, Jesus faced hard decisions too, and he showed us, he gave us that example of how we can do that. And then in chapter 9, it hits you with something else we don't like to hear, and we all want life to be fair. We want good behavior rewarded and bad behavior corrected immediately, but that's not how this world works. In Ecclesiastes 8:14, the righteous get what the wicked deserve, and the wicked get what the righteous deserve. Sometimes the person who lies wins. Sometimes the faithful one gets overlooked. Sometimes you do everything right and still lose. And that's where faith either grows or dies. The Let Them Theory says, let them. Let them misunderstand you. Let them talk. Let them choose differently. Let them live with their decisions. But here's the faith piece. You trust that God is the ultimate scorekeeper. Romans 12:19, "Vengeance is mine, says the Lord." It's not your job to make life fair. It's your job to be faithful. I've had moments where I've done the right thing and it cost me something. And I've had moments where life didn't play out fair. But I'm learning. This peace doesn't come from fairness. It comes from surrender. When you stop trying to control outcomes and start trusting God with them, something shifts. The right decision might feel wrong. Life might not be fair. But God is still just. God is still good. And obedience always leads somewhere better, even if it hurts first. If you're in a season where you're doing right feels costly, keep walking, keep trusting. Resurrection always comes after the cross. So in the part where she's talking to the guy about his marriage and how he needs to call it off because that's the right decision, I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't have all the context to form a opinion, but based off of what I do have, they're fighting because the wedding's getting closer. That's natural. That's going to happen. Stresses, the things like that. Now, the part that I want to throw in there about letting your emotions get involved and all that kind of stuff, I've been told you never should make a decision based off of your emotions. You got to look at it like a train, okay? So the train is driven by facts. It should have facts that it's driven by. And then your emotions should be at the caboose. That should be the last thing that you allow involved. I don't know if that makes sense, if I'm making sense with that or not, but I think that's a better way to look at this than the other way, where just because they're fighting, it doesn't mean that they shouldn't be married, okay? If they're in love, then they should be married. So I don't know exactly where she was going with that. I don't have all, like, again I don't have all the facts. So now in chapter 9, where it says life isn't fair, yeah, I mean, she goes into great detail, and I agreed with that she goes into great detail about some people are just born with a good voice, born with the ability to lose weight, not be fat, not, a lot of people they have gifts that you're not going to have. So life's not going to be fair. You can't compare yourself to other people. And she was talking about her daughters and how one of them really compares herself to her sister, and her sister has the looks and has the giftings and all that kind of stuff. So that's a pretty good synopsis of chapter 9. I thought it was really good that how she covered it. But hopefully that helps. Hopefully you guys get some value out of that. And, as I always say, if the Lord wills, we'll see you in the next vlog. God bless.